In this video, I'm going to go over how I manage my health to a certain point by making sure I'm up to date with my blood work. And to ensure that I do have 3 online accounts with 3 labs. I'll go over those in more detail a little bit later on. The main one that I'm associated with, primary care provider, is LabCorp. And I've done a video on the basics of LabCorp. I'll go ahead and put a link to that just in case you want to refer to that. But this is where my doctor refers me anytime he wants to check out how my blood is doing. And sometimes if he doesn't request lab work, I do, based on my history. So let me go to this login to my account. And like I said, this is one of 3 that I have. And let me come up front and mention that I am not a medical doctor. I do have a PhD in math education, and most of my videos on this channel are on math, but I do have some on technology, product reviews, and miscellaneous. So I'm just going to tell you what I do. I'm not going to recommend anything to you. So here I am on my account, view all. So the last blood work that I had with my doctor here in Brownsville, Texas was on February the 17th of 2022. I'm going to look at this. And I want to point out that you can look at your blood work and you can much figure out whether you have good results or bad results or somewhere in between just by looking at the interval. So if you look at this, without even looking at the actual details, you can see there's one question mark here, and that's this one, the red blood count. It's a little bit low, but if you look at the interval, it's supposed to be from 4.14 to 5.8. Anything in between is supposed to be normal. So this one is 4.11. So it's barely out of the interval. So I don't concern myself with this. The doctor told me the same thing. I had already viewed this before I went to the doctor. And that's one of the things that I like now about LabCorp. Within the last year or so, I'm getting the results at the same time as the doctor does. So if he sends me out for blood work, I make the appointment a day or so after the blood work. I get it at the same time that he does, so I'm able to review it. And if I have any questions, I'll ask him before. He would have the report first, and he would go over it with me. He would give me a copy, but I really didn't have a chance to look at it before. Now I do, because it comes right to me. And you look at the interval, and you can tell. Now, you might not know what some of those categories are. You can look them up, but you know they're normal based on these intervals over here. Now, some are a little bit low, but they're still in the interval. Some are a little bit high, a little bit out, a little bit over. Doctor tells me don't worry, so I go with that. So you see, pretty much normal. Lipid panel over here, cholesterol and so forth, all normal. Now this one is the only one that concerned me on this report. The A1C. Normal is supposed to be somewhere between 4.8 and 5.6. Prediabetes is 4.7 to 6.4. So I'm at 6.0. So it's right there in the border. Greater than 6.4 is supposed to be diabetes. And this one concerns me, but not as much, because this one has been as high as 6.5 and it's low at 5.6. Somewhere in there. And this one I can lower it without medication. To me, it's just diet and exercise. And that's how I focus on this particular one. I just work out on a regular basis. I don't work out as much as I used to. I'm not as young as I used to be. I'm already retired. But I do spend a lot of time on the tennis court. I still do a little bit of jogging. And then with diet, I'm not too concerned about this one. My vitamin B12 is normal. So this one was pretty good for me. And this is the latest one that I had. And like I said, you can download these reports. You can print them. Here's the download button right here and the right here. Save them to your computer. And I've done that in the past. Sometimes I want to look at different categories and just create a little history as to what's been happening with my body, with my glucose and so forth. But as long as you have the account, you can always go back to it and look at the report. Okay, so this is LabCorp here. Now let's go to the next one. And this is a CareSpace Labs in Harlingen, and I do have an account also for this. In 2019, December of 2019, I had a colonoscopy and I was diagnosed with colon cancer. I did have surgery, so they slit the intestine and removed the tumor, and then put the intestine back together. About 2 or 3 days in the hospital. After recovering from that, I started chemo in March of 2020 and went through about 6 months of treatment with the chemo. Completed the chemotherapy in late August. So I do have a lot of blood work. What they would do is I would show up on a Wednesday morning about 8:30. I'd go to the lab. The doctor would look at the blood work, see how it was, especially after you've done a few times, because the chemo can hurt you. It's supposed to kill the cancer, but at the same time it can hurt your body, and sometimes it affects the blood. But it did do enough to my blood to stop any therapy. Because sometimes what happens if the situation with your blood is not that good, then you have to skip the chemo and come back a week later or so. So I've had a lot of blood work here. So let me go. The last one that I had was March of this spring, Tuesday, March 1st. I went in because when I finished the chemo in 2020, August of 2020, I would still come back for checkups. It started every 3 months for a while, and then it went to 6 months. I would go in for the blood work, and the doctor would look at basically he looked at the complete blood count. This report right here, CBC. Now he did give me a CMP, a comprehensive metabolic panel, which looks at all your organs, the kidneys, the liver, and so forth. TSH is one that I included because I do take thyroid medication, so that was included in this report. But he just basically looked at the CBC. So I show you what he looked at and on these checkups when I came back. And you can see this one here is high. The red blood count, 4.3, supposed to be between 4.3 and 5.7. Right there in the corner, lower limit. So he didn't think that was much of a problem. Now this one I didn't see until I got there, because they did the blood work at 8:30, and then he would visit with me about 15 minutes after the blood work. So he had this report himself, and then he would give me a copy, but then I would also get it to my account. A day or so later, it would come to my account and I would view it. So you see, this one is high. The upper limit on that one is 29.5, so that's not too bad. He wasn't worried about that. The next one, again, the upper limit is 12.0. It's at 12.5. It was high. The next one was 391, again, out of the interval, but not that bad. That's the same thing for this one. You see a couple were low, but pretty close to the lower limit of the interval. CEA, which measures substance that's secreted when there's the body itself secretes this substance, it's CEA, but when there's cancer in the body, you see more of it. So you want this to stay in the appropriate interval, and it was. Now, the next part of this, the next report is something that he didn't show me. So he's mainly concerned about the complete blood count. Looks at that, and if things look good, he tells me, okay, we'll see you next time. So this is a comprehensive metabolic panel. This deals with your liver, your kidneys, and so forth. And you can see everything here looks good. The blood here, a little high. This is a kidney issue. But again, it wasn't that bad. And this I saw when I went home after I left the lab. I didn't get this till about 2 days later, so I was pretty happy after I left the lab and told me that everything was looking good. So I get this at home, and this is what really upset me, disappointed me, or whatever you want to call it. Total bilirubin was at 2.6. Now you can say it's out of the interval, but look at the interval. It's so small. It's from 0 to 1. Now if it's 1.3 or 1.6, not too bad. But this one is more than 2.5 times where it's supposed to be. So that kind of scared me. I didn't get a call from the office, so I said, well, I'll have to deal with it. 2.6. Supposed to be between 0 and 1. Everything else was okay. My thyroid, or TSH, was normal, 2.04. So then I decided to look at some of the history. And that's just what I like about this online lab account. You can look at your history. Go to bilirubin here. Last 10 results. I'm going to look at the whole thing. So let's go all total bilirubin results. Let's look at the whole thing. And it gives you a nice graph here. So you can see how it's at 1, where it's supposed to be at least. And then it goes up, and it goes down. It goes up, and it goes down there, up, and then down, up, down. And then it continues to rise there. You can see it. And then it comes down a little bit, and then it continues to rise. So I was trying to wonder what the deal was with that. I know that during the first several weeks of the chemo, I didn't really eat that well. I didn't have my taste buds. Food didn't taste the same. I forced myself to eat. So I'm thinking maybe it was that because I was almost through with the chemo over here at this period, I started to eat better. And that affected the value, or the number, to get higher in this bilirubin total. Now we look at the actual numbers. I would get blood work right before I went through chemo. So this is in 2020 here. So I started chemo in March 11 of 2020, and it was close to normal, 1.20. Then it goes down 1, and notice, look at the trend, 1.5. It goes up and down. 2.3, that's high. Then it goes down to 1.6. Then here in 1.3. And in August, when I finished the chemo, it was 2.4. So that concerned him. He ordered a CAT scan. I guess he thought there was something going on other than normal circumstances. So maybe the cancer had spread to my liver. But the CAT scan came clean, so I left, and then I would come back every 3 months for a while. Now it's every 6 months. But I still had to deal with this 2.60. Before we go to something else, also I want to look at the glucose. Again, starting with 311. The interval was from 784 to 106. You don't want it too low there. You want it in the 90s, I would think. This one's high here, and you look at all the other ones. I think that's pretty good for the glucose. But what to do about this bilirubin? So what I did was, I'm thinking, well, I know it's happened in the past. So when I looked at the history of the bilirubin, and even before I went through the chemo, I had issues with that. And the way I would fix it is to diet. Watch what I eat. Just generally, I'm not going to go into all the specifics, but I basically just cut down on carbs, cut down on sugars, cut down on snacks at night. I did lose a couple of pounds because I did that. And then what I wanted to do, I didn't want to wait 3 months or so before I went to my regular doctor. So I went ahead and signed up for LabCorp OnDemand. So that's this one right here. I knew that because I just had a blood test that included the bilirubin, I couldn't have that blood test again. Insurance won't pay for it if it's that close. After 3 months, it will. But I didn't want to wait 3 months, so I signed up for LabCorp OnDemand and look at some of the tests they had, and some of them were pretty reasonable. I could get a complete metabolic panel, which included the bilirubin, for $50. So I went ahead, signed up for it, and here it is, comprehensive metabolic panel. So I did this when I left the Harlingen lab. I started my diet by that day. No bread that week. On the weekends I would splurge a little bit, but during the week I would cut down on the carbs, the sweets, diet soda, and so forth. And I did it for from about 5 weeks, right? Because I started it on March the 1st. And then on April the 5th is when I went for this blood work. So a little over a month here. So when they emailed me that I had the results, I was nervous about it. So this is what it looks like. You can download this also, and you can see the categories that it includes: glucose, EGFR, potassium, stuff on your liver, your kidneys. You can see they all have check marks, which means they're normal, except the bilirubin. So I knew it was still high just from this, and I kind of waited a while before because I was kind of nervous about clicking on it. I said, well, as long as it's less than 3.6, what am I going to do if it's 3.0 or higher? So I went ahead and clicked on it. And let me just give you what it includes here. Comprehensive Metabolic Panel. And this is what's good about this one. It tells you what it is. I'm not going to read these, but you can pause and read them if you want. You see they're all in the green category or normal. Except for the bilirubin. But I was still kind of pleased with this because from 2.6 to 1.9, I thought it was great. In only 1 month, or a little over a month, 5 weeks or so, it had gone from 2.6 to 1.9. So that kind of told me that there wasn't something else going on with the liver, because if there was, it would probably just continue to go up, and I would start feeling weak. And just feeling pretty bad. So 1.9 was great for me. Now I plan to go to my regular doctor and talk to him, not my oncologist, but my regular doctor here, and get some more, test this again. This time I'll have him write the order, so I don't have to pay for it. My insurance will pay for it then. And I will continue the same diet that I'm going through. And I would encourage you that if you are the type of person that does not go to the doctor regularly, you haven't had a complete, comprehensive blood work done on you to check your liver function, check your kidney function, check your lungs, your cholesterol, your thyroid. Thyroid is one issue that a lot of people have, and they let it go, and it can affect you in a lot of different ways. I'm not going to go over the details on that, but there's issues you can have if you don't take care of business with that. So I encourage you to get a complete blood work and get yourself checked out to see if there's anything going on with your body. If you have any questions on anything that I've talked about or left out that you want to know about, please give me a comment under the description of the video. Appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time.